Let's speak now to the refugee organisation, the UNHCR. It has expressed concern for offshore arrangements. We're joined by their senior legal officer, Larry Bottinick. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
There are obviously concerns here in terms of perhaps the distance, perhaps separating families. And then there are other larger arguments about what the UK as a country, because that's what we're specifically talking about here, can do in terms of people seeking asylum in this country. What are your main concerns about the arrangement as it's been laid out in the papers today?
Thank you. I should start by saying we're not privy to or part of the agreement, so we don't know the details. We only know what's, as you put it in the papers today. But I think we know enough to say that it's both disheartening and unnecessary. And neither of those have anything to do with Rwanda as such. You know, experience shows, as your correspondent was getting to, that these agreements are eye-wateringly expensive usually. They often violate international law. They don't lead to solutions, rather to widespread detention or to more smuggling instead of less smuggling, which is something the UK government said that they were trying to stop. But people often don't stay, so they move on. Our more broader concerns regard this as being a shifting rather than sharing agreement. Rwanda is very generous. They have about 133,000 refugees. 122,000 of those get humanitarian assistance. That's not fully funded, so not everyone's getting a full set of rations. The most vulnerable get something like 92% of the rations. The moderately vulnerable get something like 55%.
Right.
Of their rations.
On the subject of people smuggling, which you say may increase, the plans that are going to be announced today. Boris Johnson's going to make a speech today, and he's saying, you know, that our compassion, we have compassion, but we don't have infinite capacity. In terms of people smugglers, the new measures are going to be introduced to intercept more small boats while asylum seekers will be sent to Rwanda. Under the arrangements, the armed forces will be given primacy to track and intercept boats, a responsibility that previously rested with the UK border force. Do you not think that will make a difference?
No, I think smugglers usually are pretty nimble and they find other ways to make it. I mean, the government's been trying for a few years now, and the numbers have increased rather than decreased. So items like making everyone inadmissible have not worked. We would rather they put their energies into returning rejected cases. Not everyone has to stay. Who makes it? Having an equitable readmission agreement with France and some other states within the EU, more efficiently deciding cases so that those who do have protection needs can start their integration.
Right. What I would say, Larry, of course, is that, you know, this is based on models in other countries, specifically probably Australia. Other countries do this, Denmark, Australia, and they would argue that it works. It might not be the kindest system, but it's a difficult problem to grasp, and in some cases, it works.
Well, you're right in saying that they argue that, and there were Australian advisors who were testifying in the UK Parliament. But it's not correct to say that it worked. The Australians very quickly filled up their offshore facilities in a matter of weeks or months, and for the next year, boats kept coming. So until they started dragging them back to Indonesia with pushbacks, offshoring didn't work. It just was incredibly expensive. It's almost $1 billion a year for something like 100 or 200 refugees. I think your correspondent was getting to that. And in fact, Israel was sending on a voluntary basis Eritreans and Sudanese to Rwanda and Uganda. And those that went to Rwanda mostly moved on within days, whether voluntarily or not, and they ended up in Uganda, then South Sudan, Libya, and those who survived all that made it to Europe. So, you know, there's not a lot of experience out there showing it works.
Okay. Larry, thank you for talking to us. That is Larry Bottinick. He's a senior legal officer at the UNHCR.